Holla ballers, what's going on? Today we're jumping into the Scarlet Halls, the next part of the Scarlet Monastery Heroics in Mists of Pandaria. This one's a combination of the Scarlet Monastery Library and the Scarlet Monastery Armory. We're going to see both those instances from the old days combined together in a new form, giving us a little bit of extra heroic experience for us. Opening up, we've got some very basic dog trash. These are called hungry dogs. Why this guy is not feeding his dogs, I have no idea, especially when there is food lying around on the floor. That's right, you'll see buckets of food lying around on the deck. If you go ahead and pick them up and throw them at the dogs, they won't do what they're doing to me right now, is they pin you to the floor, and unless you stun the dogs, they will in fact just nail you to the floor. A tank cannot do anything whatsoever. So healers need to be really on the case with this, as it just continuously casts for a very, very long time. It's around a 30-second cast from each dog, pinning you to the floor, doing immense amounts of damage. There's some interesting additions to this instance, which are pretty cool. First one we're going to move on to is you come into an archery area. What you actually do is you pick up these archery boards, you pick up the targets, and you use them as shields as you move towards this pack at the end of the hallway. As you can see, you pick them up, you drag them along, and the archers at the end, like your Lord of the Rings, are going to shoot some flaming arrows at you. A little bit of Game of Thrones for you there. They're going to shoot some flaming arrows. That ticks for about 20,000 damage a time if you walk in that fire. They tend to be in a rotation of right, left, right, left. So you can see from my view, when they fire these, if you go right, left, you should be able to avoid all of this fire damage completely. At the end of it, there is a guy who looks a bit like a boss. But unfortunately, he drops no loot, and he's not exactly difficult to kill. So I think he's just a little miniature, slightly more advanced NPC trash mob, really. He's not really good. He's not giving you any loot whatsoever, and this instance is itemized. So I'm pretty sure this guy is not considered to be a boss. He has a little bit of trash, which you can pick up very quickly. That dies almost instantaneously. But he does no damage. He does very little else. It's just a nice miniature event in the dungeon. Very, very cool. Once you've defeated him, you're going to move on into some extra instances. Now, some people have been asking me, is Herod still here? Is he still there? We need to know, Preacher. We need to know. Is he still going to be fighting around? But your next boss is actually going to be the Houndmaster, very similar to what you used to see. It's called Houndmaster Brawn. Houndmaster Brawn is actually a pretty dangerous boss. This is a boss where you have a chance of actually wiping. You're going to fight him in his central courtyard. Now, when you fight Houndmaster Brawn till about 80%, he's actually not going to do much of anything. But then he's going to start summoning his dogs. Now, these dogs actually surround the courtyard while you're fighting, and you can go near them and get aggro off them. You don't want to do that. They won't move, but they will hurt you. As you can see, my health is starting to dip pretty dramatically. These dogs really, really hurt. He himself doesn't do much damage whatsoever. He's actually pretty easy. But these dogs really start to hurt. Now, as you can see there from the hungering cold that the DK drops there, is the dogs are CCable. Now, there's some people who seem to believe that you should just CC the dogs as they run in, sleep them, sheep them, do whatever you want to do. I'm not sure if they are sheepable. Some people say they are. We never try, because I just like to tank absolutely everything and get it nailed to the floor. I don't like people breaking CC and causing a risk of death or anything like that. As you can see, after about 6 dogs, though, he will stop summoning them completely. You won't get any more dogs. And then he's just going to die very easily. As you can see him on his own, does very, very little damage. The dogs is the dangerous part. You're going to be blowing a lot of defensive cooldowns. You're going to be using shield walls and stuff like that. And he has a nice little death animation when he's nearly dead. The dogs will go ahead and try and eat him. They will try and eat him. So, you were asking about Herod. That was one of the big questions you guys were asking about. Herod from the old Scarlet Monastery Armory is, in fact, gone. He is completely gone. Instead, you have Armsmaster Harlan. Armsmaster Harlan, in fact, just the graphic change they've done to him is the old Herod's shoulder, the infamous looking Herod's shoulder from about level 40. He's actually just wearing 2 of them on either spalder. He's got a full set of spalders on. You will summon 2 adds into the fight that come running from the top. They will automatically be aggroed towards the healer. Don't worry about that. You can easily pull them off with a taunt and a couple of hits. They have an absorption shield. Now, this absorption shield means your first couple of hits aren't actually going to get aggro on them. So taunts are very preferable. Now, this boss is going to be the nightmare of the casual pug who doesn't pay attention. Blades of Light is infamous phrase from back in the day of Herod. Blades of Light is a complete killer. He will pick a direction to come up the stairs. It'll either be left or right. The ideal way is to stand on the platform as I did and see which way he's going. Now, as you can see, if you get touched at all while he's doing his Blades of Light whirlwind, you die. End of story. As you can see, his Blades of Light kill 2 people there pretty immediately. There is no chance of survival if you get caught in Blades of Light. You are going to die. You literally have to get out of the central area, stand on the platform, see, is he going left, is he going right? Once he's decided, jump back down into the middle, get out of the way, let him spin around the room completely, and you're going to be fine. The final boss used to be Arcanus Doan in this dungeon, in the end of the library phase. It used to be Arcanus Doan. It is no longer that. It is Flameweaver Kugler, or Kogler, whatever you want to call it, and a little bit of a Germanic name for you there. Flameweaver Kugler, you cannot die to this fight. Unfortunately, you cannot die to this fight. He has a couple of abilities. He's basically going to be chaining Pyroblasts at you. The Pyroblast is interruptible. However, periodically, he will gain a buff on himself. You can see it's on him now. That buff will give him instant cast spells. The buff is a magic buff. You can decurse it, or you can purge it. You can do whatever you want. If you have an offensive dispel, you can get rid of that and allow the tank to interrupt it, as well as the other melee DPS to interrupt it. Enhancement Shaman are going to be laughing at this boss. It can also be spell reflected. Can it be dark simulacrumed by the DKs? I don't know. His other ability is this Conflagrate, the Dragon's Breath. He will just pick a direction, and he generally targets the tank immediately. I thought it was in a random direction, but it's not, I don't think. I think it always targets where the tank is stood immediately. So tanks, you need to be moving to the right just after he starts casting it. His final ability is setting one of his own bookcases on fire. What a shitty librarian. Why would you set your own bookcase on fire? I have no idea. But he does. He's going to set his bookcase on fire, and that will just AoE the area around it. If you tank him in the middle, no matter where you are, if your guys are stood in the middle, they're going to be perfectly safe. Again, a fight where you cannot realistically die. Even if you get Dragon's Breath for its full duration, he's not actually meleeing it or attacking any other players while he's casting his Dragon's Breath. You're going to be perfectly fine. His spells are interruptible, and generally it can be purged and just reduced to a nothing fight. Not so much trash in this instance, but still a remade instance. We've seen it before, change of names but similar abilities. It's going to be a 4 out of 10, unfortunately. It's a 4 out of 10. It's a relatively quick instance for sure. The dog boss is the redeeming feature. The dog boss is actually pretty cool. Don't mind the dog boss whatsoever. The rest of it is very, very simple. Herod's one-shot ability, I like. I like Herod's one-shot ability. I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to call him Herod for the rest of his days. I don't care if he's called Harlan. He's Herod in my eyes. His Blades of Light will kill you if you struggle. Stay out of the way of it, folks. You take it easy, ballers. Have a good day.